Let me answer it this way. I'm going to answer it this way, in a philosophical way. Now, for all my life, I grew up in church, believe it or not,
Right.
But I remember an old man sitting in Woodford Square told me one afternoon, that is after some 20 odd years of strong going to church, strong fellowship and membership and attendance and so in the church. And that old man said to me, the Bible said God is the good man and Satan is the wicked, evil man. But the only records of wrongdoing the same Bible have against Satan is that he told Eve to pick an apple, and he told a man when he was fasting to turn stone into bread, and he's wicked for that according to the Bible record. But God, who is the good man, flood out the world, burn up a city, turn a man wife into a pillar of salt, tell if you don't serve him, you'll burn in fire forever and ever. And he asked me, who then is the wicked man? And I must admit, after 20-something years, being born more literally, virtually born in church, my faith was shattered. I said that to juxtapose it against who may very well be the problem in Tobago and what the problem may very well be. Because initially, I was being convinced that Mr. Duke was fighting against what or who the problem was. But as it unfolds daily, hourly, and as time progresses, I am even more confused about what the problem is. In fact, quite frankly, I am wondering, and I'm doing so aloud now, if Mr. Duke is trusted enough to be followed. Because I have to reconcile this whole Tobago debacle, of course, with what is taking place what took place in the PSA with Oral Saunders, Nixon calendars, and they were all once his bosom buddies. They campaigned against Jennifer Baptiste, and they were right for doing so. Their victory was a national victory, and one specifically for public servants. And then alas, Mr. Duke collapsed that. Then Farley Augustine was a notable teacher. In fact, the girl who he taught, one of his political opponents, a candidate in the same electoral district in the last election, she said, Teacher Farley is a good teacher, but he's a bad politician. She evidenced that he's such a great teacher because he taught her, but he's a bad politician. Faith, according to Mr. Duke, I've always maintained she's a technocrat in the thing of medical management and so she didn't wish to condescend to politics, and he convinced her, and she did. But now all of them broke up and mash up. And the only person seemed to be inconsistent with their position and their tune is Mr. Duke. I am making no allegation against Duke. I am casting no aspersion against Duke, except that I must admit I'm beginning to have trust disputes with Mr. Duke and his leadership and his
but Skippy, but Barrington, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, in all fairness, I mean, you would have to draw a conclusion at some point in time. Where is this going?
Agreed.
You know, in what direction does Mr. Duke want to take this? Has he decided that, listen, I can't really stand this heat at this time. I need to go and press the reset button and see how I can make a reassessment of what is going on? Because understand something, you're on the campaign trail. You would meet people that are more than qualified, people that you know that need to be placed in certain positions.
Yeah.
But if you're not there to make this a reality, you must feel, or those folks who are waiting must feel some sense of being abandoned. And what was this all about?
Exactly. And you see, I mean, I have not suffered it personally, but I am aware that when Mr. Duke made the intervention, of course, the chairman of their party, one Dr. Sean Ned and several others, they came to the fore, and there seemed to be some jubilation, there seemed to be some hope that as political leader, Mr. Duke is standing up for what was the belief system of the party, what was the mode and commitments on the campaign trail and all that sort of thing. And then it seemed as if Mr. Duke have abandoned all his followers by just resigning, giving no explanation. And, I mean, but let's put ourselves in the position of these people. So if these people are acknowledging, yes, there is a problem, and we are happy that Mr. Duke is confronting the problem, and as a party we will deal with the problem, and then Mr. Duke resigned with no explanation to no one, and all the person he mobilized and mustered to let us go and deal with this problem, they are left now like Alice in Wonderland. They don't know if to go hither or yon. But what we could say from observation is that Mr. Augustine seems to be the only consistent character with his position in all of this. And I'm saying, to me, it's even more confusing than it started.
Well, of course, because, I mean, one would think if you need to sort these problems out, if you need to address these issues, you need to be present. You need to be there. You need to be there as part of the solution, as part of the process, whether it be healing or whatever.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is you need to be in the game. I mean, you can't win if you don't buy a ticket.
That is the point. I mean, I too was inclined to accept Mr. Duke's argument that the PNM may have hijacked the Tobago Executive Council that started with his party. But today, it was the PNM that supported Mr. Duke in the House by offering to renominate him to be Deputy Chief Secretary, which added even more confusion to an already confusing conundrum.
Yeah. 1 second. I know a lot of folks will want to get in here. Skippy is on with us, his Spotlight on Tobago. You can call in and touch on this 225-9790 because somebody told me, Skip you on, we want to hear, we want to talk to him, but that's fine. But I can tell you one thing, he's certainly not in the best of moods because he's confused. Comrade is walking around.
I'm saying that whatever the situation was in Tobago, what we can say at this time is that Mr. Augustine seems to be consistent in his position. Mr. Duke seems to be the one that is shifting all over the place and all around whatever the issues are.
Well, the issues are, Skippy, getting down to business. I think, I mean, you as a Tobagonian understanding what needs to be done and what the people, of course, came out and supported was to get the work done, was to have this social paradigm shift where it is that they're no longer going to be victimized because they openly oppose the last regime that was there. And I think the bottom line again is to get down to business. Was that lost? Was that lost in transition for Mr. Duke?
And then that is the point. And then that is the point exactly. So whatever missive of hope Mr. Duke offered as a solution, he have just dashed it all.
And then, of course, compounded with the fact that we're hearing about backroom deals or under-the-table deals with something that even Mr. Farley had to address today. I believe that he's been hearing this talk being bandied about. And if that be the case, Mr. Duke has made it clear that he hasn't gone anywhere. He's not out of the picture, but he is, of course, resetting, making his reassessment, and he is going to come back stronger than ever. What say you about those who say perhaps he's been outplayed and outmaneuvered, that he himself doesn't even know what his next move may be? Are you seeing that? compared to the fact that those who still have confidence that he's going to come back stronger, better, and he's going to be at the top of his game?
Mr. Duke may have had ace, king, jack, and 10 in his hand. And he may have read the cards wrong and foolishly threw his jack. So as much as he may be dancing with his ace and dancing with his king and having 10 and hoping for game, the fact remains is that his jack was hung. And there was only 3 more needed to win the game. The game is over. Quite frankly, I think that is the end of Mr. Duke's political life and political span in Tobago. I mean, the good thing is that a day in politics is a lifetime. He has 4 years to find a way to reconcile. And reconciliation is not beyond politicians, because who would have ever thought that after the club 1988 with Basdeo Pandey and A&R Robinson, they were still able to come and form government years after. So a day in politics is plenty, but as this current situation stands now, and you see, I think it's over for Mr. Duke. Mr. Duke will have to re-strategize, and his only re-strategy, it seemed to me, can only be to settle down, and as time progresses and time pass, hope that water under the bridge would heal the situation, and there's a reconciliation between him and the Executive Council. That is the only next viable move, as it seems to me. I think any other move that Mr. Duke is offering or threatening is mere puff.
Yeah. Again, folks, if you want to get in on the inside, 225-9790, 225-9790. It is Spotlight on Tobago. I know this topic, and today many people express some sort of, they just couldn't sink in. What happened?
Yeah, that is exactly. Yeah. And let me give you a good example.
Go ahead.
If Abu Bakr in July 27, 1990, after they left the mosque, all with guns and so on, they said, we're going to overthrow the government. And somewhere along the line, stop the vehicle, tell everybody, give me back your gun. Give me back your gun and calm down. Forget the anger. Give me back your gun. And then you hear Abu Bakr stop by a police station and say, I was going to overthrow the government, but I changed my mind and I apologize for doing it. I resigned from that. So he said it, and then he turned back now to his followers and said, no, you all go ahead and overthrow them still. You'll have a group of confused insurgents. They will try to get out of that area as quickly as they can. And they will never follow a leader like that again. So the point is, even if Mr. Duke is to mobilize or remobilize against this Executive Council because they believe they're not delivering, they're not maintaining the mandate, they're not honoring the commitment they gave to the people, who will follow him? Because Mr. Duke's resignation have left a number of people prepared to follow him into this battle in the cold. And as a consequence, Mr. Duke now has serious credibility, issues to face and deal with. And so mobilizing persons to follow him is going to be an uphill task for him.
Yeah, I mean...
You don't mobilize people to war. You don't give them final battle instructions as of midnight to get ready for the break of day. And then on the break of day, you throw in your resignation. You don't do that when you're in battle. So I suspect Mr. Duke will have a very steep hill to climb to remobilize any efforts in this country, more so in Tobago again.
Yeah, and finally, I think you have a strong point there. Many who are still in shock, of course, you expect that the reality is going to sink in because many are still saying, Duke, not Watson. He always has something up his sleeve. He's charismatic. He's always there. He knows what to say. He knows what to do. How hard is it for many people to say, listen, I can't believe it's over before it even started? Yeah,
and that is the position. And so he may be, Mr. Duke may very well be relying on that view persons may have about him that he always has one up his sleeve and so. But I think, quite frankly, this resignation letter have put an end to all of that. I think it's over. It's completely over. If there is problems in the THA, Mr. Duke is not the solution, because those who have created the problems, or those who are administering the problems, they have won. Mr. Duke have lost. It is very clear.
All right. Barrington, I want to thank you so much for linking with us. Next week, Monday, same time, Spotlight on Tobago. I know we have a lot to discuss, and we'll be checking with you again. Thank you so much. Yeah. And that, of course, is Barrington Skippy.